Hey, welcome to Broken World Entertainment. And guess what? Amazon are in full panic mode as the Rings of Power is failing them. And they know it. Oh, yes. So we have the showrunners coming out attacking the fans once again. We have the shill media and sites attacking the fans again and doing major puff pieces to say this thing's great. So we have over at where was it? Is it the Hollywood Reporter or Vanity Fair? I believe it's the Hollywood Reporter that has a big, huge puff piece on Jennifer Salke, the Amazon studio boss. And she admits in it that they censored the Rings of Power reviews over, quote, point of view that they wouldn't support. Isn't that lovely from them? How about the showrunners? The two first-time showrunners who say they've seen the critics of the show and call them patently evil. Oh yes. But the big thing they can't hide from, even though they're trying to fudge the numbers, is the Amazon analyst who fell asleep watching the show because he was that bored. Oops. So, let's start with the two showrunners, shall we? The two absolute cabbages that are J.D. Pine and Patrick McKay, because the Hollywood Reporter has a write-up for them as well. Now, their main article was in Vanity or Variety, I think. Yeah, Vanity Fair. But a Hollywood Reporter has a bit on it as well, saying the Rings of Power writers react to 5 fan criticisms of their show. From short-haired elves to dwarf wife beards to Galadriel's portrayal, Amazon's The Rings of Power series showrunners react to some common Tolkien fandom canon complaints. So it has down, J.R.R. Tolkien fans love how the author's fantasy world is so vast, yet also so convincingly detailed and specific. So it's no surprise that Amazon's The Rings of Power has sparked some canonological gripes when striving to adapt Tolkien's Second Age for the modern global TV viewers. Showrunners J.D. Pine and Patrick McKay, or Dumb and Dumber, have seen the chatter and were down to respond to some of the most often repeated online comments. Then amazingly, McKay even asked, "What are you not buying about this show?" How about the fact that it's not Tolkien, it's not Lord of the Rings? Dipshit. As noted in the Hollywood Reporter's deep dive Rings of Power cover story this week, the writers and producers privately debated many of the same topics fans have been discussing since the show's 2nd of September debut. So they were hyper prepared to tackle the following 5 complaints. And the 5 complaints that came in were dwarf wives in the Rings of Power don't have beards. No, it's not dwarf wives, it's dwarf women. The women are supposed to have beards. Elves don't have shaved heads nor short hair. Don Lemon Elf has a beautiful fade. That's never out of place. What about Galadriel acts too masculine and she never went to Numenor? Yeah, you may as well throw in Muriel, Queen Muriel as well, seen as she's 1,000 years too early. The costumes look too new? No, it's not that the costumes look new, it's the costumes look cheap. And the show's pacing has been too slow. Okay, how could they have been prepared for that argument when no one had seen the show yet? But the Vanity Fair one is great. So Prime Video, Amazon Studios, and the Rings of Power showrunners participated in one of the most obvious damage control pieces in the history of media by doubling down on their offensive and vile rhetoric by calling critics of the show patently evil. Instead of working with Vanity Fair as they did in February when they initially attacked Tolkien fans, this time Prime Video and Amazon worked with The Hollywood Reporter. If you remember in February, Prime Video's hatchet men of Anthony Brezelstein, however you pronounce his name, and Joanna Robinson described Tolkien fans, describing them as trolls. Yep, the two wrote when Amazon released photos of its multicultural cast, even without character names or plot details. The studio endured a reflexive attack from trolls, the anonymous online kind. And now, the two showrunners, first time showrunners, they're so good at their job they couldn't even get their name on a bad Star Trek movie. They are now just going full on attack mode. Oh yeah, they're patently evil. They're just racist. But they contradict themselves as well because they bring up the House of the Dragon and saying they received the same type of thing when they released their cast photos. Yet, how come House of the Dragon is doing infinitely better than The Rings of Power? Smashing it across the board. And people are enjoying the show. Do you know why? Because it's a good show. The characters are written properly. The dialogue is written properly. There's not stupid lines like, why does a ship look up and a stone look down, or whatever that stupid phrase was, or the sea is always right and all this crap. But no, they just want to go on the full attack and then Vanity Fair just heaps the praise on these guys, saying how inspirational they are and they're taking it in their stride and stuff. No, they're not. What about Amazon's boss, Jennifer Salke? Her whole thing in The Hollywood Report is just this gigantic puff piece where there's even just random comments from other celebrities who've worked for Amazon at some stage where they're just heaping praise on her, saying, oh, she's marvelous, blah, blah, blah. This is the woman who cancelled Conan the Barbarian series because it was too masculine. What did she replace that with? She replaced it with Wheels of Time. The showrunner for Conan, what did he do? He went, okay, I'll go to the competitor, and went to HBO and became the showrunner of House of the Dragon. So they just give her this big, huge puff piece in there. But again, it's reported that it's a giant damage control article where it's confirming that the gigantic corporation was using all of its power to censor opinions by discarding it. Yet, because they removed, and they had to fully admit this, that they removed the comment section that was meant to be for 72 hours. It lasted an extra 5 days. And they're still removing. But go and have a look at the 5-star reviews. Go and have a look at them. And see how much in-depth reviewing there is in that. Because it's literally like, this is a great show. Recommend. That's it. But we're review bombing it, huh? Sure. Look at our trailers. Look how badly they got ratioed. That's all the racist. How come the Black Panther 2 trailer didn't get ratioed? How come House of the Dragon isn't getting ratioed? And let's not forget, one of the main things that is in here that's infected this whole thing is a bad reboot. Former employee Lindsay Weber, who specifically was put in there by Jar Jar. That's also how them two idiots got the job. Pine and McKay. They asked JJ to put in a good word with Amazon for them. But let's get to the big one, shall we? The one that no matter what their damage control does, it can't hide this fact that Amazon's analyst said he fell asleep watching the company's Rings of Power TV show, making him even more worried the 1 million project may be a bust. Oh yes. Oh yes. Amazon's analyst Tom Forte was already concerned about the performance of the company's Rings of Power. But after watching several episodes, he became even more worried about the 1 billion project. Check this out. This is a quote. "We fell asleep during our first viewings of episodes 1, 3 and 4 and have not watched episode 5 yet due to the combination of not enjoying the first 4 episodes and a busy schedule." So he didn't fall asleep. There was more than just him. There was a group of them and they fell asleep watching the show. Specifically in 3 episodes. And they didn't even bother watching the 5th one because they didn't enjoy the first 4. They were that bored. And here's the problem. He wrote this in a letter to the investors. He wrote to investors, and half of it says, nearly 1 month after its September 1st launch and 5 episodes in on an 8 episode season, audience response as measured by Rotten Tomatoes is far worse than we initially expected. As suggested by the critics, warm reception and is not improving as we had initially anticipated, Forte explains to investors. He goes on for a while, but he breaks it all down and says, look, we were expecting the kind of response to be low from the fan base because they were expecting the hardcore fans to be the first to watch it, and then their numbers would raise as kind of the normies come in and start reviewing it or looking at it and kind of going, oh, this isn't actually bad, and they expect, and that hasn't happened, not at all. And he breaks it down through the numbers and everything, and they've come to the conclusion that there is a 95% disinterest in the show. Oh no. And he breaks that all the way down. So he's saying there's 5% interest in the show. That the show is boring. Him and others, investors or analysts, fell asleep 3 times with 3 different episodes. Didn't watch the 5th episode and beyond because they were that bored with it. They're not seeing an increase in the numbers. They're not seeing an increase in viewership or subscribers. Then you have Dumb and Dumber here running out and trying to paint the fans as patently evil. You have the showrunner boss, the studio boss, coming out and saying we've censored the fans' voices because they're not supporting the show, basically. What an absolute disaster this is for these idiots. And now they're even trying to put out this puff piece of, we have 100 million viewers worldwide. And yet, every other number that gets broken down by all the other sites like Samba TV and the Nielsen ratings stuff, do not measure up at all to being anywhere close to that. They are saying they have 200 and something million subscribers to Amazon Prime. And they're telling us that 100 million of them have been watching this, even though the 25 million that viewed the first 2 episodes switched from viewed to sampled. Well, what's sampled? Does that mean like they watched 10 seconds of it? You know what I mean? So they've gone on full panic mode, damage control, 1 episode left. The whole season has been a disaster. Season 2 has only begun filming this week, back on Monday. It's going to take at least 2 years before we see that, so it'll be 2024 before season 2 releases. No one's going to be talking about this in a couple of months' time. What a disaster. An absolute disaster. And the whole thing is, the show has been basically an origin story for a geological area. And how did they do the big reveal? Oh, they just changed a font from saying the Southlands to Mordor. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Everyone who knows anything about any part of Lord of the Rings knows the Southlands was Mordor. So that's no big reveal. Oh. Tolkien must be turning in his grave at this. As for Anna's son, and poor Tom Sippy must be just sitting there shaking his head going, I told them. I did warn them. Idiots. Anyway, I'll leave it here for this one. So cheers. Catch you in the next.